We got a super weird ending to the Lakers and Kings game. John Morant leads the Memphis Grizzlies to 6 straight wins. And is Fred VanVleet an all-star? It's the Wednesday episode of Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Locked On NBA, the daily podcast covering everything you want to know about the association. And on Wednesdays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Karalis, at John_Karalis on Twitter, and I host Locked On Celtics.
Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even help you negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. And thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. We're free and available on all platforms, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, 5 days a week, no paywall or anything like that, getting you caught up on everything around the league. And if you didn't stay up late, you missed just a hilariously bad, is that the best way to describe it, John? Game between the Kings and Lakers. That was just, if you're gonna have a late game that almost goes to overtime and ends in like a free throw battle, at least just have some wild stuff in there that makes no sense at all and makes us laugh.
It was one of the dumber endings to a game I've seen in quite some time. One of the all-time stupid finishes to a game that we shouldn't even be leading off the podcast with, because
no, not at all.
Lakers Kings, but it was so dumb that it just elevated the entire ending.
If you didn't see it, right, like there were a couple of things. You had the Kings down by about 4. They are trying to play the foul game, but wait 7 seconds before fouling, sending the Lakers to the line. There's 26.2 seconds, whatever number it was after that. They inbound the ball, but De'Aaron Fox doesn't touch the ball, and the clock doesn't start.
It's on the free throw rebound.
Okay, there we go.
That's the
free throw rebound. Yes. And the clock it starts early, right?
He doesn't touch the ball. So the ball misses and it lands on the ground. And so it hasn't been touched. So it's still a dead ball until it's touched, but the clock starts. And De'Aaron Fox points out that the clock has started. The ref blows the whistle, and then they confer for a fair amount of time. Too much time. You want to take it from there?
Yeah. Well, so the next thing I heard was Alvin Gentry swearing. Just straight up swearing on the broadcast, not being blocked out or bleeped out or anything. So you can tell kind of something's funky. So what the refs ended up calling was De'Aaron Fox didn't have possession of the ball, so it is now a jump ball because he didn't have possession, even though there were no Lakers on that side of the court, it seemed like, right? Like no one else could have even gotten the ball other than De'Aaron Fox. But because he tried to point out the shot clock or the game clock was running when it shouldn't have been and didn't touch the ball or gain possession of the ball, technically, when the refs blew it dead, no one had possession of the ball. So it goes to a jump ball. Look, it's technically the rule. I get it, but it's a very dumb interpretation of the rule because like common sense, right? But I love it because Alvin Gentry's throwing his clipboard off to the side, saying this is the worst call he's ever seen in the league. God bless you, Alvin Gentry, and adding humor to the league. So the Kings kept saying, I heard something over the mics being like, this crap's rigged in stuff like that. Like they were going in on the refs on this one. It had no impact on the end of the game ultimately, and the Lakers winning this one, and LeBron James going off in the fourth quarter. But De'Aaron Fox trying to save a second when the Kings wasted 7 on the possession before not fouling is so Kings and so funny to me the way this one finished.
So De'Aaron Fox lays it in with 31 and a half seconds left. LA calls the timeout and inbounds the ball, and it takes them till 24.8 to commit the foul. And if you're taking that long to commit the foul, then what the hell are you doing waiting for that ball to come down? Just grab it and go. There's no benefit to that. I get maybe you want to just take a look and have a sense, but all you're doing is letting LA get back and set their defense up anyway. You're De'Aaron Fox. Get the ball and beat half the team down the floor, even though they've got a head start. Just go. It was a dumb decision. As I was saying before we started this, there are three elements to the end of this game. LeBron going off, right? And we'll get to that. The Kings being completely unaware of how to actually finish this game and play the foul game. Because, okay, maybe you say, well, we don't want to foul. We want to go for the steal, but go for the steal. One guy goes for the steal. The other guy's there to foul if it's not there. You got to do it quickly. You don't have the luxury because you're down 5. It's not one shot. You've still got to stop them. So that's dumb in and of itself. And then the referees, look, I get it. I've seen the people talking about how when there's no possession and the whistle blows, it's a jump ball. But no, you absolutely, as an official, you have to look at this. And how I know the officials knew that they were wrong and that they screwed something up. Gentry went berserk. Players went berserk, and there wasn't a single technical foul out there because the ref was like, look, we understand this is all very dumb. Just guys, we're just going to sit here and just take all of the yelling because we don't know what the fuck we're going to do and all of that. So I just feel like the entire ending was stupid, and it did overshadow LeBron going nuts. This is what LeBron does, right? He first 3 quarters of a game nowadays, he's not going to drive. And in the fourth quarter, if it's close, then he's going to start driving. He's saving himself. And that's why he's able to do it in the fourth quarter.
Look, and he closed it out for them. 14 points in the fourth for LeBron, really kind of just leading them. And they needed all of that because this game was kind of back and forth and close for the majority of it. Yeah, it was just like a weird ending. And like, that's one of those things where like common sense needs to prevail. And like the Kings get penalized on something that wasn't their fault, right? Like, yeah, it was a bad decision by De'Aaron Fox, as you said, but like they didn't cause the clock to run. This was in Los Angeles. This is the Lakers operator and someone else doing all of this, right? Like nothing to do with the Kings screwing all of that up. And they're the ones that, in a sense, get punished for it. But yeah, LeBron was great. Russell Westbrook, by the way, in this one, no turnovers from him on the night. Not a good shooting night, but that's a pretty solid step forward for him.
Well, sure. The the first shot that Russell Westbrook took was a bank shot that missed the entire square off the backboard completely and like almost took 2 heads off on the other side of the rebound. But sure, yeah, if we're looking for progress, that's some of it. Look, I think the big story for the Lakers, aside from LeBron and yes, Westbrook kind of playing in more control, they got a great game from Taylor Horton Tucker, who had been struggling since he came back. He finally hit a 3-pointer. They got a great game from Malik Monk, and they're banking on guys like this to kind of carry the old guys. And if there's any sort of real true positive to me in this game, it's that those 2 guys had big games, and then Taylor Horton Tucker is starting to show that he's coming back, getting back into a groove. That's going to be what helps the Lakers the most. You get those guys contributing, and that's going to take a lot of pressure off the guys that have been forced to play bigger roles, and they're too old to do that in December and January.
No, and they're just trying to tread water as much as they can until Anthony Davis can come back and hopefully give them a boost and hopefully see his his game elevated a little bit, because he's had it. Yeah. They just need to tread water as much as they can, basically, which look, they're doing. LeBron will help you do that, right? Like if you need that to at least stay 500, that's a pretty good head start on all of that. So more on the Lakers over the Locked On Lakers podcast. Coming up next, John Morant is on a tear. The Grizzlies have won 6 straight. We will talk about it coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Truebill. Do you know why free trials renew without your consent? It's a business scam that's out to get you. So don't lose money like that and let greedy corporations pocket it. Download Truebill to take control of your subscriptions. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. And on average, people save up to $720 a year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in just one tap. Truebill has over 2 million users and helps save them over $100 million. Like Matthew B., who says, quote, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my Sirius XM bill, saved $840 a year on car insurance, end quote. That is a lot of money. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA could save you thousands a year. Truebill.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. We're free, available 5 days a week, talking about the biggest stories around the league from the night before. And for your next listen, if you simply just need a quick recap on all of the action the night before, the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from our local experts. The box score is not going to give you the context and everything you need to know. If you're trying to catch up on the league and you think you're just going to look at the score, you're going to miss out on big things like what the refs did and all of the craziness at the end of the Lakers game. The Locked On Now podcast is the way to go. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or watch it on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel. All right, we had more games in the association last night, including the Memphis Grizzlies beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 110-106. John Morant clutch and scoring 26 points in this one, 6 in the final 30 seconds, including the go-ahead basket and a defensive steal. Man, they're on a 6-game winning streak, and he is on an absolute tear right now.
Ja Morant is unreal. Some of the shots that he hits are I can't even explain it other than to say I saw somebody tweet it out, so this is not mine, but he's the best shooter in the league on the way down because he must fire about 4 or 5 shots at the rim a split second before he lands. And it's wild that he's able to do it, but he's able to just jump so high and out, like just wait out the other guys to fall or do something. And then he just lofts it up, and he did it at the end of the game, spinning, flying down the lane. It's just wild to watch what he can do, attacking. I'm at a loss for words.
Look, man, he is so much fun to watch. He is like, you know, if you have League Pass, you need to be watching these Memphis Grizzlies as much as possible. They're that much fun. He is that good and that much of a star in the league. And he should be an all-star. I don't know if he's a starter necessarily in the West, but like he's in the conversation, man, right? Like it's not that he's not a starter. If you were to come to me and be like, I'm voting for him, he's going to be the starter for me on the Western team, I'd be like, yeah, sure. I've no problem with that overall. That's how good he's been.
No, he's been great, and we're like this close from the. Oh, I think John Morant's going to be that 5th place MVP vote. The way they're going with the Memphis Grizzlies, I think that he's starting to kind of raise his stock a little bit more each game. Now they went on a big run when he was hurt, and so the counter argument will be that Memphis is just good. And they've got a lot of good players, and Desmond Bane is a revelation, and you know they've got a lot of positive things going on there in Memphis, which is great for Memphis. That's awesome. But as Ja comes in and he carries them and he makes these plays, I can see him sliding into like that conversation. I'm not saying I'm trying to start that conversation, but
you're not going to be like MVP candidate John Morant right now.
But I'm telling you that within the next couple of weeks, there are going to be these early MVP talks, the halfway point. We're almost at the halfway point, and you're going to start getting those MVP conversations with all of the normal candidates like Steph, you know, and all the other guys, you know, Durant and all of them. And then there's going to be that, you know, one name we should be considering for the ballot is John Morant. Like that's going to be where he slides in. And I'm telling you, those conversations.
They're 25-14. Like that's the record is seriously impressive. We're going to talk about Fred VanVleet in the next segment, where the records maybe hold him back a little bit. it's working in the favor of John Morant. And when you can have clutch plays like that, right? And also do it on the defensive side of the ball. That's a really important aspect to this too, I think, right? It's not just the shot making at times. He's doing other things. I don't know, man. That's a big deal. Like, he was great in this one. And it's not like the Cavaliers, even without Ricky Rubio, right? And Rondo's not playing for them just yet, are an easy out. You have Darius Garland, who put up 27 points in this one, Jared Allen with 22, and then Kevin Love is in a bit of a groove right now, 18 off the bench. Like, it's against a good team that he managed to do this against. They've done it against good teams this year.
Absolutely. Evan Mobley made some insane defensive plays. Like, they have got that dude over there with Mobley. Like, that is a guy that you're gonna bank on. You build your team around in Cleveland. I watched this game and I tweeted it out. Like, down the stretch, I was like, man, the league is in good hands. All of these guys who are really, really young, in their early 20s, even younger, on the floor with these two teams. I'm like, wow, man, this league is in great hands. Garland had some great plays, a steal, and a bounce pass for a layup or dunk from the seat of his pants. It was great. The Grizzlies on the back-to-back started slow, finished strong, but as we do every week, Jake, we always like to play real or fake. Real or fake? Real or fake, Jake, you of the New Orleans Pelicans. John Morant is actually the best player from that draft.
I have to pause for
I know who else.
That kind of gives you that answer, right? Like, the pause there is probably not a good thing for Zion's candidacy in this. If you asked me this question a year ago, I would have probably laughed you off of here, and I would have needed like a minute to regroup, and we'd have a jump cut in here or some capacity. It's a conversation now. Like, as much as I don't want to say that, not that I have like an invested interest in this when it comes to New Orleans and Zion and all of that. It's a conversation, and it probably shouldn't be a conversation. When you saw how well Zion played last year, right? The historic numbers that he was putting up, the incredible efficiency at the rim, all of that. It shouldn't be a conversation. John Morant could be an excellent player, but he wasn't doing historic things that Zion was doing. But the availability, man, the clutch plays of John Morant, the helping the team win, which Zion wasn't really able to do last season by himself, it says something. So I think it's a conversation. I'm curious, and I'll check the comments today on YouTube. So if you're watching the show here, let us know in the YouTube comments down below. Like, who would you rather have going forward? Ja or Zion? Who's the best player from that draft? Or is it maybe still incomplete? But like, yeah, it's a discussion. I can't say real or fake either way, but I'm not saying like fake right off of the bat, which says something, right?
That's the entire point. You can't say real, because I don't think it's real that he's the best player, because it is too early. It's the 2019 draft, and we're only in the 21-22 season. So we can't say that's real. But we also cannot say that it's fake, which is the indictment on Zion and just more of his health and the way that whole situation has been handled. But look, man, on top of that, this is going to be one hell of a draft when you look at the guys that up and down. It's like, wow, man, this draft is pretty loaded. There are going to be some real significant contributors all the way up and down, even into the second round. So, but Ja has the opportunity. You're right. Ja has the opportunity right now. You have to give it to him just because he's played, but
more games.
Zion is still obviously the higher ceiling, bigger potential guy whenever he does play, right?
It's a great. I might have a podcast for you all to listen to if you want to know more about that situation and everything. It's called Locked On Pelicans. Speaking of the Pels, by the way, they played and lost to Phoenix Suns 123-110 and didn't do much of anything offensively or defensively. 40% from the Pels from the field, just 30% from three, while it was 54% for the Phoenix Suns and 55% from three. You're going to lose games with BI struggling in his return from injury, 5 of 18, just 16 points. So I was at this game and I'm talking to a friend of mine and we're just marveling that Bismack Biyombo like a COVID injury guy, right,
Yeah.
is impacting the game and goes a perfect 6 of 6 from the field for 16 points. Chris Paul is freaking good, man. At like any age, 15 assists for him on the night. When you make Bismack Biyombo, who's basically signed off the street, right? Who's also made a bit of a career off of like good point guards making him look better. He got a big contract in Toronto, basically due to like Kyle Lowry. It's just unbelievable to see that what Chris Paul does at this age and with this Phoenix Suns team.
I mean, you're right. That's what else can you say to that? Like Biyombo comes in and gives them 16 points, like right off the scrap heap, comes in and gives them 16.6 rebounds. But he also dished out 3 assists himself, like block shot. Like this is exactly what the Suns needed. And they've been dealing with their own injuries, but look, man, you're right. Chris Paul, it's all about Chris Paul. Book was awesome in this game as well. So, I mean, really, to me, it just boils down to the Phoenix Suns are significantly better than the New Orleans Pelicans right now.
It's kind of my takeaway too. Not much more we need to say about those. If you don't defend the corner 3 and the Phoenix Suns like hit an incredible amount of them because New Orleans just decided they didn't want to cover guys in the corner, you're gonna have Cam Johnson go 5 of 7 from 3. Bridges goes 5 of 9 because of things like that. Like, yeah, you're gonna lose the game. It's really kind of as simple as that. Not a whole lot else we need to say. Chris Paul, really good. There you go. That's the deep analysis we bring you here at Locked On NBA. We're paid professionals, people. All right, coming up, 2 more games, and is Fred VanVleet going to be an all-star this year? Let's talk about it in today's episode of Locked On NBA. Before we get to that, though, today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by Built Bar. It's the new year, so that means New Year's resolutions. And if yours is about getting fit or eating healthier, you've got to include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar, maybe even better than a candy bar. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution because these things taste so good, you're going to be looking forward and want to eat them. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky, waxy, or taste like a chemical spill. I've had some that are like metallic and it was terrible. You're going to want to eat these. I eat one of these every single day for lunch pretty much, and I look forward to it. So when you've got that kind of sugar craving or you want to break whatever diet you might be on, go for a Built Bar because you know what? It's going to be fine for you. 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. You compare that to a candy bar, whatever else it might be. These things are going to win every single time. So you've got to keep a couple of Built Bars for you whenever those cravings strike, whether it's before or after a workout, breakfast, lunch, whatever you want. These things can be eaten any single time, and they are so good you're going to want to do it. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15 over at Built.com. They get special limited time flavors too. You got to go check it out and use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off over at Built.com. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is also brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. We've got the college football national title game. We've almost got the pro football playoffs and NBA action basically every single night. So BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus in your first deposit. Just use our promo code Locked On to receive your bonus. I have fun with all the player props. I acknowledge I'm a big NBA guy. Want to take advantage of that, try and make some money. So whether it's basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. So don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast and available on YouTube as well. We're here 5 days a week breaking down every single thing you want to know about the association, recapping all of the games from the night before and the next one up. We've got the Toronto Raptors 129 over the San Antonio Spurs 104. John, this one is all about Fred VanVleet. Another 30 points for him, 33 points. This is his 3rd straight over 30 and 4 out of his last 5.
He is on fire, baby. This guy, as soon as he steps onto the over half court, he's in his range now. 7 of 14 from 3. The Spurs were 9 of 35 from 3. He almost had the Spurs himself. The Spurs are not a good 3-point shooting team. So that's at halftime of the game. They had each made the same amount of shots, and Toronto had only taken two more shots, and the Raptors were up by like, what was it, like 14 or 16, and it was all because of 3-pointers. And it was all because Fred VanVleet was just burying these. And the question now, as we continue our real or fake, is Fred VanVleet having an all-star season? Because the Raptors are struggling, and there are some good candidates at guard, but he's having a hell of a season.
No, look, he's been so good for them this year. Like, again, the points and like the scoring kind of really speaks for itself. And it's, as I said in the last segment, right? Like, the one thing that's probably holding him back is the Raptors record, I think. Right. They've struggled this year. They've been dealing with COVID and other injuries, but look, they're on a 3-game winning streak now. You know, they're starting to round into form. They're getting some guys off of the COVID list and being healthy. And you're seeing kind of the starting lineup that they want to have and the rotation that they want to have. That's going to help them, right? Like, if they can go on a little bit of run in the next week or two, I think they're going to look at Fred VanVleet and be like, oh, that's the guy that's kind of sparked the resurgence in the Toronto Raptors. That kind of adds that narrative around what you sometimes need to become an all-star as well. So yeah, like, I think it's very real that he could be on the all-star team and that he probably should be on the all-star team this year.
There are so many candidates, and it's so hard to figure out, first of all, where you slot some of these guys because of the positional thing, or what coaches are going to value as far as bringing guys on.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's in the mix. I guess it just, look, the East is pretty guard heavy. There are a lot of guys who deserve it. You know, we know the big candidates, but you know, Trae Young, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine are all going to be in there, and maybe a couple of these guys may be starting. James Harden will make it. You know, these guys coming in as reserves. What are the coaches going to value? Do the Celtics, who are similarly struggling, get one guy or two guys or no guys? Does, you know, Bradley Beal, do the Washington Wizards get a guy? Does LaMelo Ball come in from Charlotte? Like, the decision on those could impact Fred VanVleet. I'm going to say it's real. I think that, frankly, after what, and I don't normally vote narrative wise, right? I generally hate the narrative, but more so for the end.
It helps season. You.
But you know what? For some of these guys that are in the mix, they're young, and I feel like you guys will get plenty of opportunities. The Raptors, after last year's COVID and the way they got smacked around down in Tampa, I didn't like that. They're now sitting there. I was watching this game and I'm like, this is like last year. There's nobody in the stands again. It's all quiet. You got to give Toronto something here. And VanVleet has been, he deserves it. He's good enough. Like, he's got the numbers, he's got all of the stuff on the court that you need. So if you're looking for a tiebreaker, man, throw Toronto a bone. Give this team something to celebrate after the last 2 COVID seasons. I'm in. I'm putting VanVleet in. That's real for me.
No, I'm with you. I think it's real. On the flip side of this one, for the San Antonio Spurs, they really struggled shooting in this one. Like, not a great performance. Jakob Poeltl with 19 points. You had Josh Primo, who struggled shooting but made his threes, got to the line, finished with 15 off the bench. Yeah, man, this one was just Fred VanVleet being really, really good, and maybe Toronto rounding into form a little bit. And then final game we got to cover tonight was the New York Knicks over the Indiana Pacers, 104-94. You finally get Julius Randle back, and he goes off. 30 points from him. RJ Barrett, 32 as well. RJ Barrett carried him in the first half, right? Yeah. He scored 24 points. This game was tied at halftime, and then you had Julius Randle decide to score 14 points in the third that really just broke this game wide open. Exactly what the Knicks needed, I think.
Yeah. And look, they had trouble, and I don't want to go down a whole maybe you should have beaten the Pacers a little bit more handily. No Brogdon, no Duarte, no Isaiah Jackson, Jeremy Lamb, Karis LeVert, Goga Batadze, TJ Warren, Kellen Martin. That's the entire list of Indiana Pacers in health and safety. You got Kiefer Skies, who I don't know, Kiefer Sykes, sorry. Kiefer Sykes who I don't really know much about Kiefer Sykes, but he dropped 27 for the
You've seen a lot of things like that right now.
You know, like there's a lot of guys who I'm like, oh, that's new. And they're having like great game. So that's what the Knicks were up against. The Knicks needed something to go their way right now. They've been scuffling. The Pacers are a mess. And okay, so you needed some big performances to make that happen. Okay, great. Good for RJ Barrett. Good for Julius Randle. Good for Alec Burks starting at point guard. Not good for Evan Fournier, who was awful. And we've brought up Fournier up before with the Knicks.
Yep.
He's been so up and down. At first, it seemed like it was a good signing, and then there were some. Now it's that could come back to haunt them a little bit. But hey, for now, Knicks get the win that they need. Move on.
Look, it's good when your star players carry you like that, right? It's nice to see Julius Randle, after sitting out, come in and just dominate the game like he should, right? Really kind of scoring at all three levels, too, in the mid-range, at the rim, and from three. That's what you want to see out of him. 16 boards from him as well, 4 assists. He was really, really good in this game, stepped up after RJ Barrett carried him for the first half. Like, as you said, like, take care of business, do what you need to do when you have other guys really not stepping up like Mitchell Robinson and some of the other ones. So good win for the Knicks. You just need to get that sometimes, and it's really as simple as that. So that's going to do it for the Wednesday episode of Locked On NBA. Thank you all very much for listening. Now for your second listen, go check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. As always, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Karalis, at John_Karalis on Twitter, and I host the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thank you all for listening. We'll be back with you all next week.